We're going to get the show rocking and rolling again. I'm going to bring on a gentleman who was one of the creators of Wogs Out of Work and consequently changed the face of comedy forever in this country. He played Ricky on Acropolis now. Let's give it up for the one, the only, Mr. Simon Palomares!
My family looks like now. You know, we all get together at Christmas, and you know, if you can imagine, you know, everybody's sitting on the couch. There is my 12 and 14-year-old. You know, they're emos, and so they're not saying much because they're 14 and 12 and can't express the darkness of their souls. Here is my mum and dad over here. They're not saying anything because they've been here for 40 years and still can't speak the fucking language. Okay, so this is the zoo that is my family now, okay?
I've got my kids here in Australia, my father in Spain, so I'm always trying to work out, well, where is home? You know, my kids have grown up here, they were born here, and yet you take them out to the bush and they're like a fish out of water.
Dad being on stage gives us the shits because he's getting paid to make jokes about us. We get no royalties or anything, and all we get is reputation as snobby, stereotypical teenagers, which isn't too far off the mark.
Whoa! Well, I've just had 3 of my grandsons riding in this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Tip-top.
And your dad, he is a comedian. Yeah, good.
He likes to think so.
Yeah, and obviously you do.
Oh, yeah, he's always good for a laugh at home. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I think he saves most of it for the stage.
So is he Spanish descent too?
Yep.
Is he
yeah,
really?
full-blood Spanish, yeah.
Look at that. Now that is a man. A Spanish smile, that's it.
We're just surrounded by these, like, stereotypical Australians, like, drinking VBs with their cowboy hats and their horses and whips, and it just makes us feel just like we're just tourists in this country now.
So this is the first time you've met a Spanish guy?
It is.
It is?
It is.
Mwah. Mwah.
Oh, I'm learning quickly.
There you are. I've always found the question of cultural identity a bit confusing.
Oh, you're the little spick, are you?
Yeah, so she's gurgling in Spanish, see?
A lot of people still think I'm Greek in Australia because of my work with the sitcom.
No, seriously, I would love to live in a huge communal house with lots of kids growing up with heaps of adults so they can all relate to one another.
And lots of friends and relatives who feel they can just walk in whenever they feel like it.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah, you should marry a wog.
I couldn't say wog when I first met him. And it was such a negative term that it was, you know, I had no experience. I was really skip, even though I'd been raised in a sort of progressive family.
I'm a wog. And to use that word back then was completely inflammatory.
A Spaniard in Australia was labelled a wog. And so I just carried that as though it was just another title or another name, you know. And so I had my first name, my second name, my third name, and then I had the wog.
And then someone taught me, Michael Mbaro, Artemis, my best man, taught me the word skip. And that was a great comeback, you know. Convicts and skips, thank God for that. Thank God you guys were convicts.
It really represented to me that in Australia, you're no one unless you're having the piss taken out of you. And as soon as you have the piss taken out of you, it's like, we exist.
And there they were suddenly emerging before our very eyes saying, hey, you're not aware, but we're a group out here and we're to be reckoned with, and this is this dual culture that we've been developing. Didn't you know? We refer to each other as wogs.
I grew up in a neighbourhood where everybody was a wog, and it never made any sense to ignore it or to hide it or not be proud of it.
I think shows like Wogs Out of Work made people really proud to have another culture that wasn't, you know, Australian in origin. So the following was huge because it really satisfied a missing element.
And to me, the biggest achievement is that after Wogs Out of Work, the word wog was put into the Australian Macquarie Dictionary as a word that may be used as a term of affection in between certain groups.
All right, who's shitting themselves the rest of the night's going to be in Spanish. That's all there is there. Hi, how are you? Where are you from in Spain? Spanish people? Barcelona. Barcelona, they're really Spanish. Sorry about that. Okay. Anybody from Madrid? Over there? Hi, how are you?
In February this year, I find myself 17,000 kilometres away from home, about to go on stage and do a gig in Spanish in front of a television audience of over 3 million people. And I can't remember the Spanish word for door. Door. door, puerta, door, puerta, door. I mean, I've died on stage before, but like, I've never died in front of 3 million people. And I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Well, to answer that, I have to go right back to the beginning.
To a small village in the south of Spain known not only for the quality of local pigs, but for my kind but anxious mother, Dolores, and proud father, Gabriel, who met under the oppressive reign of Franco's dictatorship. So my father decided to pack up and head off for greener pastures. To Germany, to the heavy industrialized city of Düsseldorf, famous for its manufacture of floor wax, where they both worked on the production line. That wasn't the only thing they worked on, and in May 1962, I was born, Simón Palomares Escalera. At only 3 months of age, my father decided to send me back to Spain, where I was looked after by my 3 aunties and 2 grandmothers, a move that laid the seeds to my addiction to cigarettes, a stand-up comedy, and a complete nervous breakdown. At the age of 4, my father took me back from the loving arms of my doting aunties and grandmothers, and I was taken back to Düsseldorf until a year later when my father decided to take the family back to Spain, where we lived in a little village famous for its psychiatric hospital. Still not happy with the homeland, my father, who loved the TV series with the kangaroo that goes, moved us halfway around the world to Melbourne. A city famous for its trams, football, and a swimming pool named after a drowned Prime Minister. We stayed in the immigration hostel in Springvale and ate lots of meat. I went to uni to study psychology and of course became a comic, being one of the creators of a famous comedy show that explored the plight of migrants, like my parents, and a TV series. I fell in love with a pretty girl in the show and we had a wedding, 4 funerals, and 2 boys. She suffered from postnatal depression, we all did. Not being enough, I decided to have a nervous breakdown. My father retired and took my mother back to Spain. I got a divorce while I continued with my stand-up until I got the news of my father's illness. So my sons and I flew back to Spain to discover my father in one ward of the hospital and my mother on a deathbed in another. She passed away 3 days later. After the funeral, I flew back to Melbourne with my sons, now with the dilemma of what to do with my frail, ailing father. And so on the 24th of January, I found myself with my 2 sons in my Melbourne apartment, running late for the airport for a flight back to Spain.
Jay, laptop.
Yeah, I'm getting off. I need the laptop, thank you.
Yeah, would you mind if I got another piercing? Did you see my wallet?
Under the bed. Your bed.
Oh, I need money for a med card too.
There.
Thanks, Dad.
That.
No, it's not enough.
Kisses.
See ya.
Okay.
You need a passport?
Thank you. Okay. Going back to Madrid is going to give me the chance to try and do some stand-up in Spanish. And while I'm there, I'm going to see if I can bring my father back so we can look after him properly over here.
You've got a natural strong bond with a parent, and if that gets broken, then it unleashes this extraordinary amount of anxiety. Many people have 2 parents, and if one kind of loves you, well, you kind of take that for granted. What you might be more conscious of is the parent that doesn't seem to love you. And if your father's origins were in Spain, you may want to get cultural acceptance there, because maybe that'll help you get acceptance from your daddy. And that's what you hanker after in a life's journey to recover that missing thing. But you might find it an alternative means, like perhaps doing comedy.
And after a 26-hour flight from hell, I am met at the airport in Madrid by Jorge Segura, who is a local Spanish comic. And he's going to give me some gigs and introduce me to Spanish comedy. And the first thing he does is introduces me to the subtle art of Spanish driving.
Vamos a hacer unas pocas de tapas, ¿no? ¿Te acuerdas de las tapas, no? Un poco de chitorra, chitorra, porcillita. Vamos allá, venga, va. ¡Quítate, coño! ¡Vamos! Bueno, pues si has pensado cuando estoy por aquí, pues ya sabes cómo va la cosa. De repente te viene uno, te sale otro, tienes que tener en cuenta que hay gente que se queda aquí a la izquierda. Porque aquí en España también se conduce a la izquierda. Lo que pasa es que lo legal no es eso, lo legal es conducir a la derecha y la izquierda para adelantar. Pero hay que ir gilipollas, no te tiene delante. Venga, ¿qué esperas?
It's true, the traffic in Madrid is insane, but it's also true that it's very, very beautiful. I'm a romantic, you know, you can't help it here.
You want some tapas?
Let's get a beer.
Some tapas, you want something? Okay.
Este es Curro Romero. Claro.
¿Y Manolete cuál es?
Manolete está aquí. Manolete está por allí. No, Manolete está.
I booked you for some gigs already here, so you can try out your new stuff or your old stuff, or just leave it, and you get some professional advice from some professional comedians, so you can get a nice grip of what comedy is here.
Europeans don't understand jet lag the way Australians do. Jorge's already dragging me to my first gig at some nightclub.
It seems very risky stuff to go off and be a stand-up comedian.
Un aplauso muy fuerte de cortesía para Simón Palomares desde Australia, Vallecas.
So on the one hand, you could kind of die a death on stage, but on the other hand, you could get a fantastic reward, which is that extraordinary adrenaline rush of hearing an applause that's for you and you alone.
¡Ouch! ¡Yau! ¡Ouch! No, en inglés. Y entonces al cuarto o quinto día ya me empieza a cambiar el cerebro, ¿me entendéis? Ya me empieza a cambiar el cerebro y ya cuando me levanto el quinto, sexto día, ya me levanto y mueve, ¡pum! Y ya me sale, me cago en la puta hostia, coño. Y bueno, mi padre es de Sevilla. Mi padre es de Sevilla y mis hijos son australianos, ¿no? Y son góticos, son emos. ¿Sabéis lo que son emos? Sí, vale. Emos son como góticos.
I died.
Oh, you died.
I died. They hated me. I haven't had a gig like that in years.
But you built up some cojones there and went all the way through, even though you were dying.
They're hurting now.
I tell you what, it's more fun hanging out with rock stars and musicians than it is with comedians. They are so fucking depressing.
When you go into a performance when you're 20, it's very different to why you stay in it when you're 40 or 50. It sounds like for Simon, part of it is going, why should I keep going? And I need a new edge. And it's like, well, I speak this whole other language, I have this whole other culture. So how can I make that work, or how can I tap into it? Or it's like beginning again.
If I come back here, do I become el australiano? Which makes me foreign again. So whether I'm back in Australia being the ethnic comic, or now do I come back to Spain and I become the Australian comic? This is a big question. Next day I catch the train to see my father in his nursing home outside of Madrid, where he's convalescing after being in hospital.
Sí, no, tú quédate dentro y ahora te recojo. Ok, bye. Chao.
Last year I had a very tough year with both my parents being in hospital and my mother passing away. That was the perfect storm of family problems last year. You know, it was like watching a train crash happen, and there was nothing I could do about it. My father really believes that happiness is for poofters. Real men are not happy. Well, they suffer a lot, and you know, this is the whole thing about the level of suffering in my family. Nobody could actually suffer as much as my father had. My father had an incredible temper, and there was a sense of walking on eggshells and keeping the peace.
Gabriel was a very angry man, very repressed. You know, he'd had a horrendous childhood coming out of the Civil War, and his family were on the wrong side. If you were a Republican, there was punishment.
I mean, I remember living under Franco, and, you know, it was very different. You never talked about politics. You were afraid of being labelled a communist.
I think the legacy of the Franco era was expressed in the generation that Simon's in, where their parents were raised under it. They experienced the aftermath of the Civil War and what happened to their families. And that's the stain on the psyche.
If you've got a really, really controlling, distant father that just doesn't give you that love and acceptance, then it creates a vacuum inside you, a vacuum that you've got to fill somehow.
So there's the whole thing, you know, and the only thing that brings us together is we all get together for Christmas and, you know, we do the one thing that wogs always do at Christmas, which is we eat, thank you very much. And then when you finish eating, you eat some more, that's right. Then you take a bit of a break and you eat again, that's right, okay. Because if you're a wog, you turn on the oven around about July.
Just have a coffee or a drink with them and, you know.
Have you told them I'm coming?
Yeah. Okay.
Are they okay with it?
Nothing big. Yeah, they're fine, okay.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás? Hola, ¿qué tal? Hola. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Hola.
Hola, muy buenas. Hola, ¿qué tal? Hola. ¿Qué tal?
There's food that brings us together. We, you know, because if you're a Spanish mum, let's face it, if you're a Spanish mum, you know, you always got to have 11 things going on the stove, right? Just in case the Spanish National Army drops in for lunch, you got to be ready for that. Because they can cook 50,000 things and never write anything down, right? We're sitting there watching all the cooking shows, trying to get tips. My mum saw Jamie Oliver on television, and all she could think to say was, "Oh, why is that boy in the kitchen?" Only one reason, his mother must be very sick.
We're in Spain for the first time, meet up with 15 or so relatives we'd never seen before, or heard of for that matter. And yeah, then that night, Dad's like, I need to stay at the hospital with Grandma, so I'm gonna have to get you to go with my cousin. And he just comes up and just gives me a hug, kiss on the cheek, says, my name's Mariano, I'm your dad's cousin and we're family, so my house is your house, my family's your family.
It's a different experience because here it's just like, hey, how's it going, mate? You know, have some dinner, we'll have a talk, but there it's like, the second you're there, you're in the family no matter what. It's just an embrace that I haven't really felt here.
Así como, estábamos bailando en casa, ¿no? En una Nochebuena.
My aunties are so much like my mother. They have the same sense of humour. And most of the family that I still have left in Spain is my mother's side of the family, especially my aunties, who were the ones who brought me up as a kid. So basically I had 6 mothers. My mother, 2 grandmothers, 3 aunties. I had one dad who was not around for most of the time.
Separation anxiety can easily set off panic attacks in the future because you might be in a place where you feel lonely and isolated perhaps. And that you've kind of got a memory of parental separation. And so it triggers that kind of horrible response of, I'm missing out, I'm not being loved, I'm being rejected.
He experienced panic anxiety disorder from his late teens. We were 7 years into our marriage before there was a name for it. I used to just think he was doing the male thing, going into his cave. When I had postnatal depression with the boys and, you know, my parents died and my grandmother died, parents died.
It was basically death, birth for 5 years. You know, when people say, you know, you can feel something snap, it really was something that went like that.
In our marriage, we just had more life crisis than most people experience in 30 years in a very short amount of time, and our marriage imploded.
But I do remember that around about that time I started to have very strong anxiety and panic attacks.
It can lead to what's called agoraphobia, which is actually a fear of having a panic attack again.
Walking in front of 1,000 people and performing and doing my job and walking off and then not being able to walk through the foyer because I was afraid of walking through the crowd. That frame of mind where you're just so aware of somebody stepping out of a crowd. Jorge had lined up another gig for me and I was rather dubious about it until we got there and I realised that he was talking about one of the most iconic venues in Madrid.
12 years in the comedy business and it's my first time performing here. Are you nervous? Because I'm cracking up.
I've been doing comedy in Spanish for 2 weeks and I'm at Galileo Galilei. Yeah, am I nervous? Shit, yeah. Oh, fuck yeah, I am.
If you die on stage, I'm gonna kill you afterwards because I recommended you, you know? I told the guy you were the best. You were a really big star in Australia.
Simón,
Palomares.
Oh, how you doing? Hey, give me a yell. Y siempre lo primero que me sale es, oh, Jesus, shit, ouch, ouch, ¿no? Y luego al cuarto o 5 días ya se me cambia el cerebro y ya un día me levanto y doy y ¡pum! Con el pie en el armario y ya me sale, me cago en la puta hostia, coño. Y digo, ole, ya estoy aquí. Ya estoy aquí.
Te llamo ahora, ¿vale? Que es que me ha llegado un mensaje. Venga, te llamo ahora. You know who that was? You know Danny LS, the guy who booked us last night? Apparently you didn't say goodbye to him before you left, so he was asking kind of like, oh, was he happy with everything? Because we gave him 10 minutes, he took 20, and then he
So was he offended or what?
You did good on stage, but you did really bad off stage. At least make him feel that your gratitude.
Show the appreciation.
And here in the Latins, we show the gratitude, you know, by like getting a bit closer, you know,
Sure.
and getting more confidence, and you know, smiling and say, hey, thank you very much. You made me very happy. I could perform here, and it was the dream of my life. But the Latin people, Latin people, we always, you know, like.
So you're saying I should?
So you should get closer
to them.
Yeah, closer to them, physically and emotionally. You know, like, hey, man. Hey, thanks, man. You know, show some passion about it, so they feel happy that they did that for you.
Don't touch religion. It's dangerous in Spain to touch religion. If you end the joke, it needs to end in cock or just, you know, you need to close it. Yeah, when you finish a gag, puta, no problem.
I think it's around here.
Why would you put a theatre here?
What do you mean a theatre? I don't think it's a theatre. I think it's a club.
You said it was a theatre.
I don't know.
It's a club or a theatre?
It's a big gig. We're gonna have fun.
That's not a club. It's a fucking restaurant.
It's not a restaurant. It's a bar. Look, there's people.
There are tables and chairs.
Drinking.
It's a restaurant.
It's a bar. Look.
They've got menus. It's a restaurant. Look, people are eating.
¿Esto es un restaurante, un club, un teatro?
Un restaurante con discoteca.
Happy birthday, dear Chin Man. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. But now, please, the moment we're all been waiting for, please give a big round of applause for a guy who's come straight from Australia and is here with us tonight. Put your hands together for Simon Palomares!
Elvis Presley. Elvis is now leaving the building. Thank you very much. You were tops. Hey, come on over here, guys. Come on, everybody. Come on.
English is from England here. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Who's American? Yeah, hooray! Okay, we started the crisis. We're gonna go broke, but we're number one and we're taking everyone with us. How stupid do you have to be to actually borrow money from a bank for Fannie Mae? Oh. Anyway, so,
Yeah, you died. We get there. It's not a theatre. It's not even a club. According to the lady, it was a restaurant discotheque, right? The two words that signal death to comedy: restaurant and discotheque. After dying on stage twice, we decided to take a break and go up to the mountains.
We started to wonder what the hell I'm doing here. I mean, I don't have to be here. I'm making a nice living back in Australia.
But don't you want to make it in your own country?
I'm starting to wonder if it is my own country.
Well, you were born here, so it is your country.
I left this place when I was 10. The whole country has changed. There's nothing left.
Well, your family is still here. Your family hasn't changed much. There's still Spanish
My
people?
family has changed completely. There's one thing that's changed about this country is my family.
But there's still
my
the same...
My mother is gone. My father's in a nursing home down the road. He's got cataracts. He has to be operated on. Until he gets his cataracts operated on, we won't be able to take him back to Australia. My sister is in Sydney. My kids are in Melbourne. I'm over here trying to work out what?
You will always be trapped between two cultures, and you might never quite feel in one and belong in one. And maybe that's not so bad, I don't know.
Jorge wants to help me find my lost Spanish mojo by getting me to take a flamenco lesson. Well, I'm half Spanish. I'm thinking, how hard is this going to be?
Simone, Penelope, your teacher. Can leave you two guys.
Sorry, I haven't got the kiss.
Strong. Feel it?
Feel it, yeah.
Strong.
Oh, yeah.
Strong.
Oh, strong. Here. Yeah, feels so natural.
Now we change the step, okay?
Right.
Just from the knee to the toe. That's it. Stomach in.
Stomach in.
Stomach in.
It's
You
in.
have to
It's in.
concentrate. That's good. Feel it. Feel the passion. Your shoulders go down. Go down. You have to concentrate yourself. Stop that. Concentrate. Feel the passion. Stomach in. Go down.
Once.
You just have to move.
This
your
one,
hand.
this one, okay. In.
The fingers. Don't forget about the fingers. Don't forget it. You're not swimming. Look at me. We are here, and now we are here.
Okay. No, there.
You just have to move your fingers and your hand. Vamos, quiero verlo. Vamos, con dos cojones. Está mal. Míralo otra vez. 1, 2. Now, quiero verlo ya. Vamos. Arriba, la mirada. Keep your stomach in. Keep down your shoulders. Con dos cojones.
Ahí.
Eso no son dos cojones, eres una niña. 2. Brazos, arriba. Vamos, arriba. Que no, está mal, estos brazos están mal.
Jorge reckons he knows the Spanish audience, and to get me to understand them, he takes me to Spain's top comedian, Santiago Segura, made famous by his portrayal of the sexist, racist cop, Torrente.
Debe ser americano.
Sir, do you realize you're not supposed to be in here?
Como no hable usted más claro, soy José Luis Torrente. Don't worry. Si es para ver la installation.
I'm gonna have to call security on you.
No. 3 minutos. 3 minutos, hombre, dice stop. El ruido stop.
What?
No me jodas, no me...
Out!
¡Joder!
Get out of here!
Se me sé, tranquilo.
Out!
Su puta madre. No lo voy a tener que hacer yo solo, joder. La madre que lo parió. ¡Se puede sacar de España! ¡No, José Luis! ¡Torrente!
You need some clues of how is...
I've never worked in Spanish.
So you're not really fully Australian or fully Spanish, so now you have to find your place, and that's why we're asking you to give us some advice.
There is no place like home, but where's your home?
Where exactly?
I feel sorry for you.
So how do I find my Spanish half?
You have to be passionate, you know. I think you lost a little bit your passion, you know. Passion is also something weird, you know. There is a lot of passion in a soccer match or in a bullfight ring, you know. I can understand that, you know. I hate soccer, I hate bullfight, but, you know, you go there and you freak out.
And cojones?
They always say that. Tiene más cojones que el caballo de Esparteros. You have more balls than the caballo de Esparteros.
Well, how big are these?
Pretty big. They're pretty big. About this big. About this big.
Once I step by there and I look and it's really big. It's funny, you know. I don't know why some guy sculpting a horse could do those things. You should go there and measure the cojones of the caballo de Esparteros.
We get arrested, you know.
Sava, you're so brave. We're about to measure the balls of the horse of Espartero. Los cojones de Espartero. Vamos a medir.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna measure them, see if how big they are. If they're bigger than mine or not.
This is Partero, right? All the way up there. That's bloody high. I didn't think it was going to be that high, actually. Funny. Yeah, it was. I could have been deported from my own country. No, not funny at all.
Look at your face was... That was funny. You gotta give me that.
If you understand bullfighting, well, you will understand Spain. Nobody does, so maybe you can. I don't know. They say that toreros, the bullfighters, they have great cojones. I think they are basically insane. Crazy people, you know, with no sense. But, you know, that's not for me to decide.
If you go back into history, the majority of the runners in Spain that go in front of a bull, you'll find very few women. But we don't have that need because we have a chest that grows to confirm that we're women. We have, you know, we start bleeding when we become women. There is physical signs. Maybe men need to bleed as well. Maybe that's why they go in front of the bull. It's an animalistic need to prove yourself as a man.
I wonder if you can see bullfighting as some kind of metaphor for stand-up comedy. Now, first of all, both the matador and the comedian are in a kind of gladiatorial environment. The audience is the bull, and your sword would be your wit. They plunge the punchline. Out comes the applause. The bull can definitely gore the matador, and the same thing in comedy. The audience can gore the comedian. Not by thrusting swords, but by the worst of all possibilities, deathly silence. And goodness me, this might take you back to all those times when the parents said nothing, and you kind of feel as if you're drowning in this sea of failure.
Come on, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, for you, maybe. These are real bulls. They're trained killers.
Wow, they're baby bulls. They're baby killers. They won't kill you.
They're psycho. They're trained from birth to be killers.
They're not big bulls. You're not gonna get gored.
Bulls are attracted to movement. So if you run, they come after you.
Y traer con la mano izquierda, ¿no? Sería así.
So you got to move the cape, and the bull comes. And if you do this, they come for your legs because they're attracted to the movement of your legs. So don't run. Rule number one: don't run.
Mira, una cosa que tienes que saber.
Muy bien, ahí, acércate, acércate, que no te va a hacer nada. Bien
fácil es, ¿verdad? Viene ahí, qué fácil es. Desde aquí arriba.
Y ya pasamos de.
Dale ahí. Arrímate. ¡Ole! Dale ahí. Bien. Dale ahí. ¡Ole! Bien. Venga, dale. Cuidado.
That's enough. That just came too close. Too close to comfort. Sit.
Venga. Muy bien. ¿Qué has hecho? Está clavado.
Careful.
Well, you know how it feels like now.
It feels to be stabbed.
So you have to feel the stabbing to
Yes.
stab someone.
I mean, that was just like 1/3 of the size, and those horns were here, and
It was like a good audience.
It was like a good.
It was just like a good audience.
Like a good audience. The horns were right around your legs here.
What were you thinking of?
I wasn't thinking of anything. I was thinking of running. That's all I was thinking.
Did you ever think of the possibility of getting gored?
Absolutely. every single millisecond.
How
of
did
it.
it feel like? How did it feel like?
It was like living on the edge. It was like right now. Things could go either way, right? You know, this is actually this is what the interesting is. You're there with the bull, right? And you're thinking, okay, right now I'm at a fork in my life. My life could go either way right now. I got gored, man. Look at this. See that there? That is my first goring ever.
Oh, cosita. Cura sana.
That was bad. That was really bad.
Come on, man.
Jorge is telling me that I've got to get back to my roots. So he's lined up a gig in Seville, my mother's hometown. He's telling me it's going to be cool.
Simon! Come on down. We've got to city. You're running late already. Come on, Simon. They're gonna kill us. Look at the faces. They're gonna kill us.
My first gig was in Seville. They call Seville the biggest small town in Spain. And they brag about it. Like, it's, just I'm from a big city, it's a bit different. You have to be very careful because you have 200 churches and only 8 bookshops. So I'm pretty sure you're fucked.
Serrano, queso prado. Emborracharnos y el resultado nos da igual. Oe, 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 oe.
To go before we get there, 265 Ks.
Yeah, that's 2 hours and a half.
The gig's at 10:30, mate.
Yeah. We'll be there about 10:30. So, don't worry.
Have you got a button? Have you got a button or something you need? Open the door. Open the door. There's gonna be a little under the seat. Under the seat. What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? Here.
¿De gasolina? Un momento. ¿Gasolina?
Sí.
Vamos a asegurarlo.
A ver, por ahí.
Yo creo que sí. ¿Y ese?
¿Ese?
Sí. El primero, este primero.
¿Este?
Sí, señor.
Vale, gracias.
Gracias.
You were going to put petrol in a diesel car, gilipollas.
Well, we're in a hurry. You can't expect me to have everything in mind.
You're driving the thing, you don't even know where the petrol cap is?
Okay.
We're in the middle of La Mancha. We are 2 hours away from Sevilla.
Well, chill out, man. You're stressing me out.
The gig is in an hour. We're not going to be there for another 2 hours.
You're overreacting.
Overreacting?
You're shouting again.
Is this a gig? This is an industrial wasteland.
Well, you gotta judge it from the inside. You can't judge it from the outside, you know? It's that corner, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
Hola, es un micro abierto aquí, ¿no?
Micro libre.
¿Qué tal? Yo soy Jorge Segura.
Muy bien. Para adentro.
¿Sabes si está Fernando?
Sí, está ahí dentro.
I'm not sure if I'm going to die, but it's certainly going to be pushing shit uphill for most of it. I just have nothing. I just can't even think what I've got in common with anybody in this place. Everybody looks about 16. I can't even grab onto anything in this venue, all the people in it.
So what we do is
People are sitting down.
There's just a fog of hash. There's just a fog of hash out there.
They will be laughing at everything
They'll
you
be
say.
laughing at themselves
everything,
for the
yeah.
rest of the night. You've seen my material, all right? I talk about my kids.
Yeah.
They're 16, they're cops.
Yeah.
So, okay. My kids are older than those people.
Sí. Buenas noches, Sevilla. Sois de puta madre. El mismísimo Simón Palomares. ¡Un aplauso para él! ¡Más! ¡Simón Palomares! Buenas noches. Tengo que explicar una cosa, porque yo soy de Madrid, pero me crié llevo mucho tiempo en Australia. Y cuando vuelvo aquí, tardo 4 o 5 días en empezar a pensar en español, ¿entendéis? Ok. Y entonces cuando vengo aquí, las casas en Australia son muy grandes, ¿no? Y cuando llego aquí, me levanto por la mañana, los pisos aquí son pequeños, ¿no? Entonces cuando me levanto por la mañana, me levanto y me digo en el pie, ¡pum!, en el armario, ¡pum!, ¡ouch!, ¿no? Y los primeros 4 o 5 días siempre me sale, ¡pum!, ¡oh, shit!, ¡ouch!, ¡oh, shit!, ¿no? Pero ya al 5.º día, por ahí, ¿no? Ya un día por la mañana me levanto y me doy, ¡puf!, con el pie en el armario y ya me sale, ¡me cago en la puta hostia, coño! Digo, ¡oh, ya he llegado! ¡Ya estoy aquí! ¡Ole! Yo me ando por la calle cantando, me da una gana de fregar, ¿no? Yo me ando porque los carteles han puesto un nombre que yo no puedo dominar. Francisco Alegre, Francisco Alegre. De vez en cuando una pequeña recaída, Francisco Happy Alegre. Pero ya me voy enterando, ¿no? Ya me voy enterando. Gracias.
Así se llama negra, hay que hacerla enfrente, como que nos vamos a dar de hostia, si no, no tiene... Así está todo controlado. Quita ahora. Una clase de flamenco. No. ¡Jumanji!
Entonces lo que vamos a hacer con el documental es que, porque habéis estado demasiado tiempo. ¿Queréis ir a tomar una copa o qué pasa aquí?
You were awesome, man. You were so worried about it. And now what can you tell me? I was right, you were wrong.
Dad is too frail to come back to Australia right now. And it breaks my heart to have to leave him like this. I'm not sure when he's going to be strong enough to come back home. I'm not sure my father ever found home anywhere. You know, I think he feels more comfortable in certain places. I think he feels comfortable in Spain. You know, it's that thing about being a migrant that, you know, once you leave home, you can never return completely. It's only a couple of hours before my big Paramount gig, and all my doubts, all my demons, all my insecurities have come back to haunt me.
Very risky stuff.
You lost a little bit your passion.
Panic attacks.
A complete nervous breakdown.
The audience can gore the comedian.
I've never died in front of 3 million people.
Fuerte aplauso para Simón Palomares.
He's free on stage. He's able to really be in a place where he's comfortable and his observations are funny.
You could call him a Gaudi of comedy in a way, because he's sort of colourful and bent-twisted. He's not quite, it's not the British version of irony, and it's not the American version of slapstick. It's something in between. It's quite special.
When I'm on stage, I literally have the best time of my life. I really enjoy it. I just enjoy the fact that I can stand there entertaining people. In going back to Madrid, I did find a missing part of myself in the family that I love, in my love of the language and in performing on stage. And it gave me the chance to accept a lot of the bittersweet memories of my childhood and, of course, my relationship with my father. And I realised that both Melbourne and Madrid are home.
Wow.
Thanks for everything.
We had a great time, didn't we?
It was good.
You take you back some flamenco lessons and...
Some bullfighting.
Bullfighting.
It was good.
Congratulations, man.
Good, man. Hey, listen. Thanks for everything.
I don't know, man. You're gonna miss the traffic, you know?
Take it easy.
Take it easy, man. Take care.
This is a song called Volver, which means to return, and it's about returning to the place you once belonged, and once you get there, facing all your memories, the good ones and the bad ones. Volver. Yo adivino el parpadeo de las luces que a lo lejos van marcando mi retorno. Son las mismas que anunciaron con sus pálidos reflejos hondas horas de dolor. Y aunque no quise el regreso, siempre se vuelve al primer amor. La quieta calle donde el eco dijo, tuya es mi vida, tuyo es su querer. Bajo el burlón, mirar de las estrellas que con indiferencia hoy me ven volver.